Hi there, I'm the Criticat, and in this video we apply Blake Snyder's beat sheet from Save the Cat to the hilarious 1993 movie Groundhog Day, written by Danny Rubin and directed by Harold Ramis. As Blake Snyder would say, let's beat it out. The film opens with clouds moving around a blue sky, sometimes slow, sometimes quick, but otherwise pretty much unchanging. The music that accompanies the opening credits sounds a bit like a Laurel and Hardy film, which suggests we're about to watch a comedy about the hero getting himself into
another nice mesh.
In the opening scene, we are introduced to Phil Connors, played by Bill Murray, as he goes about his job as a TV weatherman. His first words are,
Phil, if you could be anywhere in the world, where would you like to be?
He makes it clear that Punxsutawney, the town where he's supposed to report the Groundhog Day event, is the last place he would ever want to live. Phil has been reporting at Punxsutawney for the past 4 years, and he hates it. It's just so small town, overblown and routine, as far as he's concerned. We get the sense that he's a small-time version of Scrooge, who hates himself and the humdrum life he finds himself in.
Prima donnas.
He believes he should by now become some kind of a celebrity, and he looks down upon his peers, including his cameraman Larry and his new producer Rita, played by Andy McDowell. He speaks in an uninspired and ironic tone, which is amusing to us, of course, but belittling to his peers. 4 minutes into the movie, Larry says to Phil,
I don't understand what's wrong with the Groundhog Festival.
Larry can say that because he sees it for what it is and not for what it's not. Phil only sees what it's not. Rita, on the other hand, thinks the event is exciting and full of opportunities. She's a seize the day type of girl, the opposite to her jaded colleague Phil.
She's fun, but not my kind of fun.
Groundhog Day starts off on a sour note for Phil. He can't get his usual double espresso, and there's no hot water for his shower. Once outside, he walks into a large icy puddle trying to avoid a clinging insurance salesman. We sense it's been like this year after year for him, and he just can't seem to escape it. I got you, babe. I got you, babe. 14 minutes into the film, Phil discovers 6 more weeks of winter, and a blizzard is on its way.
What blizzard? It's a couple of flakes!
His route home is blocked by snow. This small-time nightmare is destined to continue.
No!
A patrolman tells Phil,
Now you can go back to Punxsutawney, or you can go ahead and freeze to death. It's your choice.
I'm thinking.
Phil tries to find alternate routes, but gets nowhere. He's stuck. Could this day get any worse? Well, it does, because 80 minutes into the film, Phil wakes up to find himself on Groundhog Day once again.
What the hell?
By the way, in the original script, Phil's ex-girlfriend, who's not in the film by the way, happens to be some kind of voodoo queen and creates the Groundhog Day time loop as a form of revenge. I'm so glad they ditched this idea because it would have made Phil a victim of sorcery rather than his own hubris. Anyway, back to the film. Phil wakes up the next day to find it's still Groundhog Day. He asks Rita if she's experiencing the same kind of deja vu, but she thinks he's just acting weird.
I think you should get your head examined if you expect me to believe a stupid story like that, Phil.
He tries to get professional help, but neither doctor nor psychiatrist can come up with a useful answer. 30 minutes into the film, while travelling with a couple of drunkards, Phil asks,
What if there were no tomorrow?
One of them answers,
That would mean there would be no consequences, there would be no hangovers. We could do whatever we wanted.
That's true. We could do whatever we want.
Phil decides to put this to the test and goes on a reckless ride around town. He gets a thrill from breaking the rules.
I'm not gonna live by their rules anymore. I noticed that.
If he can't be a national celebrity, he can at least be a local jackass. The next day is Groundhog Day all over again, and his actions of the day before are erased in the minds of all the people he's interacted with.
Yes!
Realizing that he has a free pass to do whatever he wants now,
Ned?
Phil starts to indulge in the luxuries that Punxsutawney offers without thinking about the consequences.
I don't even have to floss.
And as he does so, he begins to see the town in a different light.
Well, it's beginning to grow on me.
The longer Phil stays in Punxsutawney, the more effort he makes with the people he's kind of stuck with. he starts to take an interest in Rita. Having already won a couple of ladies in his time loops, he starts to commit to the idea of winning over Rita.
What I really want is someone like you.
He has the huge advantage now that no matter how embarrassing his courtship becomes, he can always try again the next day, and she won't remember anything he did. 53 minutes into the film, Phil has the greatest Groundhog Day of his life. His date with Rita on this particular day works out wonderfully, and he succeeds in luring her back to his hotel for a romantic evening. But this is about to turn out to be what Blake Snyder would call a false victory. Technically, there are no bad guys in this film, not the flesh and blood kind anyway. The bad guys here are the various faces of Phil's pretentiousness. Just as Phil's perfect day is going so well, Rita senses she's been taken for granted and backs away from him 55 minutes into the film.
I could never love someone like you, Phil, because you'll never love anyone but yourself.
It's a right bummer to a perfect day, but never mind, Phil has learnt a valuable lesson.
No white chocolate, no fudge.
And can try again tomorrow until he gets it right. But as Groundhog Day follows Groundhog Day, and as Rita dumps him again and again, Phil begins to tire of the kicks he was enjoying in fun and games, and begins to lose heart.
I'll give you a winter prediction. It's gonna be cold, it's gonna be gray, and it's gonna last you for the rest of your life. I've come to the end of me, Rita. There's no way out now.
Phil loses the will to live and tries to get out of his nightmare by killing himself. Pretty dark, eh? But the result is no different. He wakes the next day and the time loop resumes. Phil is stuck. He can't die, he can't enjoy himself, and he can't have Rita. In an idle moment, he tries to prove to Rita that he is in a time loop by describing all of the people in detail around him. She starts to see that he's not just crazy, and develops an interest in him. In fact, she is so interested, she even wants to come up to his room to see how his day would end. It would seem he's in a position to take advantage of her. Instead, he remains thoughtful. He comes clean to us and talks to Rita while she's asleep. He tells her that he knows he's been acting like a jerk and doesn't deserve to be with someone like her. According to Blake, this is the point in the film, just before the hero reaches way deep down and pulls out that last, best idea that will save himself and everyone around him. So what is his last, best idea? 72 minutes into the film, Phil decides that it's time to change his attitude and make a positive impact on Groundhog Day. He uses all that he's learned during his time loop adventures to help the local townspeople. Bit like a superhero. He takes the opportunity to explore the town further and gain new skills like playing the piano. He learns ice sculpting and uses these new skills in order to improve the town. In short, he starts to care about more than just himself. And it's only with this awakening that he gets the double payoff with the A story and B story intersecting to create his newly found kindness and helpfulness begins to bring out admiration from the townsfolk. Phil becomes a sort of celebrity. 85 minutes into the film, he performs on the piano in a jazz band at the Groundhog Day party. Everyone's having a blast, and Rita's very impressed. Phil is then entered into a local bachelor auction. Female admirers quickly palm money on his head, but it's Rita who stomps up the cash to win the bid. The next day, Phil wakes up to find Rita beside him. His groundhog loop is over, and he is finally in the tomorrow with his love by his side. Phil steps out into Punxsutawney and says to Rita,
Let's live here.
the answer to the opening question has finally been answered.